realize he's showering and this bloody thing walks into the camp.
Welcome back to Bucket List Adventures Botswana. This is our third and last episode of the Okavango Delta Kwai trip. If it's your first time on this channel, feel free to click the tag in the top right corner of the screen or select one of the suggested videos at the end of this episode so you could watch the first two episodes and catch up on our previous adventures leading to where we would start this episode, which is our third morning of this trip at Baines Baobab. After a quick breakfast, we had to get going, knowing that the road would not only be long and bumpy, but it was completely unknown to all of us on this trip. Okay, so we just left Baines on our way to Maun, and last night when we went to Baines, we took the second turn to the right and it was quite bumpy and shaky. We drove 15 kilometers, took us about an hour. Today we are doing the same, but we took the first right, so we're going back on that one now. That will be the left one on the map, back from Baines. But yes, this one is also shaky. This one is terribly shaky, and we are driving in 4 high but going super slow. I think I'm going 10 kilometers an hour. The GPS is showing 11, so you know, luckily only 2 kilometers left. It was 10 kilometers, so yeah. Then we're gonna turn right and we go on the cut line, and then it should be a little bit better because it's a main road. This is just a little bos pikey or a 2-spur road. Just hold on to your dentures when you get the side and you head onto Baines from the main road. But anyway, it's part of it, it's fun. That's why we do it. Now this is where we left the FJ Cruiser last night. He went straight on that road that way and we turned there. That's what I mean. When you guys come from the front gate, you're gonna come in from this side. If you turn on that second one right, it's very bumpy. Take this first one, it's better. So we are at the Khwai entrance. We're just getting a few drinks and then we are on our way to Maun. We had to stop next to the road to quickly secure the canopy. I saw it was a bit loose, and as we had one of these doors open, my finger got basically crushed between the canopy door because it closed. The one on the other side closed again. But yeah, safe travels. Soon after getting to the main road, we arrived in Maun, where we had to stock up on our firewood as well as fuel, seeing that this would be the last time or stop where we could get fuel for the next 4 days. I soon realized that the few hours on the tar road to and in Maun I had taken for granted. It was only a short drive from the last filling station that the tar road became gravel once again. This road was about 90 kilometers of hell. It was like the road couldn't decide if it wanted to be bumpy, sandy or rocky. The only choice I had was to cling to the steering wheel and count down the kilometers one by one before arriving at the south gate of the Moremi Game Reserve. So we are in the Moremi National Park on our way to Khwai camp. Just a little tip, please remember when you guys are going from Maun to the Moremi gate, the south gate, it's a very bad road, but also remember to take pulas. Pulas is Botswana's currency. Please take pulas because they do not accept any rands, any dollars, any other currencies except pula, and they only take cash. So please remember. But inside the park, it's a beautiful road. It's a bit windy and wavy and bumpy, but it's much better than the one that we used going from Maun to the gate. When you're in the gate, yes, you're going slow. We're going about 30 kilometers an hour, and the Khwai camp is about 31 kilometers from the south gate. It's gonna take you about an hour and a half drive. Just keep right by each of the forks in the road, then you would be at the campsite. Our first evening at Khwai was much deserved, as the road leading to this campsite from Baines Baobab was, to say the least, very challenging. But being welcomed by hyena calls through the night definitely made it worth every kilometer of the way. The first morning in Khwai woke me up to the sound of a mother vivid monkey trying to round up all the young ones who had made their way into our campsite as a pit stop to the neighboring campsites to see if we had left any snacks on our table from the night before. There were hundreds of birds calling along this Khwai river where we had camped. It was as if our arrival in Khwai had to be broadcasted from tree to tree. Today's agenda would be searching for the third bridge that has collapsed. But the road that we need to take to go there, seeing that it was collapsed, is how can I say, a detour. But we've spoken to some of the locals, and they said that the detour that we are taking, as long as we stick to the main roads, would take about 3 hours to the third bridge. So we'll see, if we can even find it. But we've been snaking through the bush now for about 2 hours, still looking for it. We have got so many flooded areas and roads that we can't get through. We actually had a few people that were stuck and we had to help them. Some people were recovered by other people, but we helped the one gentleman. He was actually, we found out, our neighbor at the Khwai camp. So I think it was a coincidence that we bumped into him. And these guys were actually communicating, I don't know to whom, but they called with a satellite phone. So after we helped them, they contacted the contact person to say that they don't need their assistance anymore because we already helped them. So yes, we're still tracking through the bush and through these marshlands, swampy areas. This is actually the delta, looking for third bridge or an alternative route to third bridge. This is a beautiful area. This is in the Baobab picnic site area on the way to 3rd and 4th bridge. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. It is almost 40 degrees Celsius. It is damn hot. So we are still in search of 3rd bridge. We just came across some people who told us that getting to 3rd bridge we have to get to 4th bridge first. So we're looking for 4th bridge now, and they said we should stick to the main roads. But it is beautiful, lush and dense bush. It's just mopani trees everywhere, and it is huge mopani trees. I have never seen mopani trees this tall. They are easily 10-15 meters tall, easily. They are beautiful. Bit confused now, searching for the bridge, but I feel that we're very close to the bridge now. Alright, so we got to 4th bridge. We are just quickly preparing for each vehicle to cross one by one because it says 5 tons crossing, so we don't want to go with 2 vehicles. And also the game ranger said that we should only cross.
Draai rechts.
And also the game rangers told us that we should cross 1 by 1, and we should do it very carefully and slowly. So we are just prepping quickly. We have just arrived there. I love these pole bridges. They are surprisingly strong and they do last many years. Driving over them and hearing the wood squeaking and cracking reminds me of an Indiana Jones movie where Harrison Ford is having a tough time crossing one of those rotten rope bridges. Even though we never found this collapsed third bridge, spending the day searching for the bridge via these back roads and exploring the national park was truly an adventure and experience that I would keep for many years to come. Getting to this point, we didn't have much daylight left, and it is strictly prohibited to self-drive in the Botswana national parks at night. So we didn't spend a lot of time at this bridge because we knew we were still far away from the campsite back at Khwai, and we had to get back. So we have 10 kilometers left, and we are trying to get back to campsite before curfew. And I'm showing Mr. Janil de Villiers how it's done, Dakar 2.0. But yes, all jokes aside, we're trying to get back to campsite so that we can start the fire, have a cool beer, and then just kick back, relax after this exhausting day of looking for the 4th bridge.
Busy showering and this bloody thing walks into the camp. It's a hyena in the camp. Hey! Hey!
Please be extra vigilant when you decide to visit the North Gate campsite in Khwai. The workers here have told us that the hyenas are known for coming into the campsite while you're preparing a meal, eating, or just sitting around the fire. This was such an awesome experience to see this hyena scouring our campsite, hoping that we might have left something on the table. And that's why I highly advise that you make sure that your tables are cleaned and your camp chairs are stored away safely. You might just wake up the next morning to find that your stuff are missing or damaged. The next morning, we didn't even bother to wake up too early, knowing that the only plans we had for the day was to head on further up north towards the community trust campsites. And after crossing the North Gate Bridge, you would find yourself going through the little village of Khwai. It is at this village where you can stock up on your necessities. But please keep in mind that it is a very remote village and like most of these remote villages in Botswana, you would only find the bare necessities. So please keep that in mind when you head on through to these remote places, that when you pass the last big town, it might be the last stop in a few days depending on your trip, where you would have a chance to stock up on your necessities. The community trust campsite's only about 20 kilometers from this Khwai village, so it won't be long before you have to turn off the main road once again, back onto the two-spur roads, which is going to lead you back into the bush towards the Khwai River area. The community campsites were found in the month of April of 2000, and it is located in the heart of the Botswana wilderness, located just north of the Moremi Game Reserve and to the south of the Chobe National Park. And it doesn't only serve as a perfect stopover between these two national parks, but it is also the best managed community-based natural resource management program of the whole of Botswana. This trust represents the interests of the Khwai community as well as the Khwai village, and has played an active role in the sustainable use of the national resources while ensuring that the benefits from these tourist activities that are taking place in this area are distributed to all the households staying in the Khwai village. After spending a few hours self-driving next to the Khwai River and seeing what the area has to offer, we had to decide where we wanted to set up our camp. The community camping site is a little bit different than any other conventional camping site. Here there are no designated camping sites, but there are massive shade trees, so wherever you can find a nice open area or some shade trees, there you can put up your camp. Every morning on this Okavango Delta trip had us waking up to different sounds. This last morning in Khwai had us waking up to a pod of fighting hippopotamus which weren't too far from the campsite. This morning would be our last day before we had to head back home. So we decided the previous day that before we left Khwai, we just had to do the Mokuro cruises on the Okavango Delta. This one was definitely on my bucket list.
We just got to Mbudi campsite.
Yeah.
I have Blue here with me, like his shirt, Blue. If you guys come here, they've got beautiful campsites, they've got Mokuro tours. What else you have? Some safari walks.
Yeah.
Mbudi has got plenty activities to come and see, and their campsites are beautiful against the Okavango Delta. Blue is charging, they said the fees here are 375 pula per person per night, and they've got beautiful ablutions, showers, there's always water, warm cold water, beautiful bathrooms.
See you again. Bye bye.
We are using our afternoon as a leisure Mokuro cruise on the Okavango Delta. A little fun fact is the Mokuro boats are being built out of fiberglass now due to the conservation of trees. They don't want to chop trees anymore, so they decided to replicate these old wooden Mokuros out of fiberglass. And the person in front there who's steering the boat is called a polar. These boats are about 4.5 meters long. But the water is not very deep. I think the water is maybe a meter and a half. But it's so beautiful with these little water lilies everywhere, and we're just cutting through them. This is beautiful. And then from here we're gonna head back to Kumaga. So it's gonna be a nice drive back a terrible road through Khwai. From Khwai we're gonna go back to Maun, and then from Maun we're gonna go to Mupipi, and then we're gonna stay at Kumaga Lodge for the last night. This has been a very special trip for me, and I'm glad that I could have shared it with you. This might have been the first time for me to visit the Okavango Delta, but it's hopefully not my last. This being my first time in the Okavango Delta was an experience that I won't forget for many years to come. Most of the animal species in the Okavango Delta are found across Botswana, but none are as untouched, wild and completely free as the ones in the Delta. It's like my grandparents' campfire stories from 50 years ago came to life. of how the animals used to live in total isolation before life became so commercialized. I truly feel that the time spent in the Delta was not nearly enough. Thank you for joining me on this Okavango Delta series, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps the channel to grow. And don't forget to click the notification bell, as this will send you a reminder every time when I post a new upcoming video. And for those who have been following me on Instagram will have noticed that I've recently visited Namibia. This was also my first time in Namibia, so do join us on the next series where I will be crossing out my Namibian bucket list.